Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Tuesday, August the 20th, and we are in for some muted trading activity today, in my belief. If we take a look at where we are in the markets, the Nikkei is having a great day over in Asia. It's up 1.8%. If we flip around to the futures in North America, we can see that the Dow Jones is pretty much even. It's down 15 points. The S&P the same, pretty much even, but in the green, up 4.5 points right now. We're still an hour and a half away from the market open. And then there's the Nasdaq, and it's up slightly, 16 points. So in the green, which is positive. But we had a very interesting day yesterday. And if we flip over to the Yahoo Finance app, we'll take a look at that. First of all, the VIX is down under 15, which is quite positive because we don't want the volatility index to be above, I'm going to say 20. We certainly don't want it in the 50s or 60 range where we saw it 2 weeks ago, Monday. Crude oil futures are down below 75. This is reaching an interesting low right now, but it's not affecting the oil refinery stocks yet, which I find particularly interesting. And then as we look through our list, what we'll see today is that retailers are a bit of a mixed bag. You've got Lulu up slightly pre-market, Dollar General up a penny, so pretty much flat. Walmart down 5 cents, so pretty much flat. Walmart came out with great earnings last week. It really hasn't moved off of the high it reached, which was that $73 range. So Walmart's an interesting one to keep an eye on. If we look at the 1 month, it obviously popped here on earnings day and took a nice increase from 68, which we predicted, up to 73, but it's kind of flatlined there. And I would expect there's going to be a bit of a pullback, maybe even as low as 68 or 69 before it starts to move forward again. So this is not one that I would probably look at buying now, but on a pullback, I might consider getting in to Walmart. Alignment Couche-Tard. So this company announced yesterday that it put out an unsolicited bid for the 7-Eleven store chain, which is owned by a Japanese firm, and they're looking to acquire that. 7-Eleven is larger in terms of number of stores and revenue than, maybe not revenue, but in terms of number of stores, believe it's larger than Alignment Couche-Tard. But this Canadian company out of Quebec is looking to make that acquisition, and they have, I believe, better profitability in the chain. So that's an interesting potential acquisition, which I think would make it the largest, I'll call it kind of corner store retailer or convenience store retailer in, I think, globally at that point. So that would be a very interesting acquisition. This is a phenomenal stock for a retail stock. It has always done quite well. It does have a high price to earnings ratio right now. You can see its market cap is almost $78 billion, so it's pretty significant. It pays a dividend of close to 1%, 0.86%. But it has always done well year over year in terms of return on investment, return on equity. Then we get down and we take a look at Home Depot. So Home Depot is off this morning, $3. Lowe's also reported this morning, and Lowe's came out with kind of a miss like Home Depot did, but it hasn't affected its stock pre-market. In fact, it's up 54 cents or 0.22%. So I would expect this stock, although what we saw with Home Depot, we saw the Home Depot popped. It went down initially, then it went up on bad earnings and future forecast. And I'm thinking that this is going up and then going to come down. But I don't know, and I'm not interested in buying it. So I'm going to stay away from Lowe's because I think it's a sector where consumers aren't spending money, and that diminishes its likelihood of gains in the future at this point in time. So I'm staying away from that. Nike has regained some ground over the last, call it, month. It went from the lows in the 70s, it's back up to the mid 80s. And then we get into healthcare, and healthcare is kind of flat, but look at this one. Look at HCA. HCA is up $80.55 this morning. This has got to be a mistake. There's no way that this stock is going to be up 21% pre-market. If we scroll down to the news, there's really no news about this that indicates why this stock would pop. I mean, most of these articles are a little older. So I think this is an anomaly this morning, but let's keep our eye on this and figure out what's going on with HCA Healthcare, because that is a huge jump for a healthcare stock in a single day. The transports. So transports, oddly enough, have been bucking the trend. We're hearing more and more about the lockouts at CNR, and yet CNR has gained ground this week. I think this stock is set to get hit and lose ground. So I would be shorting this stock or selling this stock if I owned it right now. And JB Hunt as well. On bad earnings in its second quarter, it has now climbed back up to 175. I think this stock is due for a reset and is going to drop below 160 in the next month or month and a half. That's my bet on that. So I'm staying away from either one of those if you're looking to buy a stock and see it grow, or call buy and hold a stock for the long term. Staying away from both of those transport stocks. If we turn to oil and go down to crude, you can see crude is up 5 cents this morning, but it's down below 74.50. So it's reaching its all-time lows for the year. You can see that back here in, where were we here? In early February, it was down in the 72.28 range. So it's getting close to those all-time lows. So I think oil is getting very close to being set for a rebound. And so I think that's going to bode well for all of these oil stocks going into the September-October timeframe. Especially as we get into the early winter months when oil demand typically increases. But we'll have to see. That is just kind of my forecast and where I think oil is heading based on different trends and shifts in the market. If we get into tech had a good day yesterday, but it was very specific to certain stocks. So some of the semiconductor stocks did well yesterday, but not all of them. I think we're going to see a strong day today for semis again. But then we had some results come out as well. So PanW, we talked about yesterday. I bought some PanW yesterday, pre-market close, and it did very well on earnings release and announcement. It is up about 2.5% going into the open this morning. It was up about 4% after the news and announcement at 4:15 yesterday. So I sold in after hours and took my profit. And that was a nice little percentage gain there. The news out of Palo Alto, basically, they benefited from folks moving away from or making decisions to hold off on CrowdStrike after CrowdStrike had that major global outage. So CrowdStrike getting hurt really was to the benefit of Palo Alto. So that worked out for them, and they released some good earnings. CrowdStrike, it was up this morning. It's now flat. Oh, now it's up again. So who knows where that's going to go. But that stock has been slowly recovering. But we are moving into earnings for CrowdStrike. So be careful with CrowdStrike. Earnings in 8 days. I cannot see earnings being positive and good for this company. Future forecast may be quite positive, but I've got to assume they're going to get hit on revenue for sure and earnings this quarter. That would be my assumption, and I think the stock is going to fall. I would predict it's going back down to, say, the 220, 230 range after earnings, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. So I am staying away from CrowdStrike right now. We move down through the list and see just some of the real active ones and take a look at some of the semis. We can see that ARM had a good day yesterday. It started off, can't see the chart there. We see that it started down yesterday. Good opportunity to buy. Then it was basically flat, but then at the end of the day, like a lot of techs, you can see a little uptick, and they all spiked right at the last, call it 10 to 20 minutes of the trading day. ARM did the same. Oh, sorry, that was ARM. Microsoft did the same. It spiked at the end of the day. ON did the same and spiked at the end of the day. Shopify had a little uptick. AMD had a great day yesterday and had a little uptick towards the end. DraftKings uptick, EA uptick. So you can see those little upticks. Qualcomm had an uptick. So interesting there. I put some money into Workday yesterday. Workday's got earnings out in 2 days, so they're coming out on Thursday. And I do believe that the announcement is going to be positive, and that's going to ratchet this stock up based on those results. So waiting on those. It's up pre-market. It was up pre-market. It's now down a cent today. Lam Research. So Lam Research has been a company that had a very interesting day yesterday. It dipped. We can't see it here. It dipped as well this morning down to 856, which is a steal, and has now recovered to 880. But it dipped yesterday. Let's look at the 5-day chart on that so we can see it. Yesterday, it dropped down into the 8. I don't think it went that low yesterday, but it says it did. So the 855, 856 range, and then it climbed all the way back up throughout the day, closing at 881. So this was a miraculous recovery, and I do think it's got more room to go. I think we're going to see this stock get up into the mid to low 900s, so into the 920, 950 range, probably by the end of the month as NVDA releases results. So I'm a big believer in Lam Research right now. We had Broadcom had a good day yesterday, down slightly into the pre-market. Amazon is coming back into getting close to the 180s. It had a positive day. Meta was a positive day yesterday, but it's just kind of hovering in the high 529 ranges, and I don't see it moving from there immediately. I do sense there's going to be a pullback on this and other tech stocks and bring it back maybe after or just before the release of NVIDIA's earnings on the 28th. So just watching the market daily, watching the narrative. Right now, there's a lot of talk about the Democratic National Convention and Kamala making presentations or speeches. Yesterday, it was Biden who was talking, and the handoff to President-elect Harris. So there's just a lot of noise right now, but nothing really bearing fruit from a market perspective or correlating directly to market activity. You've got NVIDIA off slightly, about $0.50, 54 cents this morning. Google is looking like it's making a bit of a comeback. So Google got hit a couple weeks ago when all this tech stocks got hit on that Monday, but it never really made its recovery, and it looks like it's making slow daily recoveries. So this to me would be an interesting time to buy and hold Google and ride it back up the recovery, because I do believe it's going to get back up into the 175, 180 range before the end of next week. And then we've got Adobe. Adobe had a great day yesterday, and it's set to report earnings in the next little while. It's going to be in September the 12th. So we're about a little less than a month, 3 weeks away from that. And that'll be an interesting stock to watch, because I do believe Adobe is going to have some good results. TSM had a great day yesterday. It's off a little bit. These are stocks, TSM, the semis, that I would buy on a bit of a dip or pullback, because I do believe that TSM is going to be a $185, $190 stock as we start to get to next Thursday when NVIDIA releases. And assuming the release is good, which I do believe it will be. If we take a look at our banking stocks. So SoFi yesterday had an incredible day. If we look at what SoFi did in percentage terms, it went up 6.5% yesterday. So this is one we've been talking about for a while, and SoFi has just been a bit of a roller coaster ride, but right now we're climbing the roller coaster hill and things are getting better, and we're seeing a significant amount of returns, which is phenomenal. Then we scroll down to some of the others, and you can see that RJF didn't have a great day yesterday. So, but I am expecting a $2 to $3 pullback here, and would get back into Raymond James when it pulled back into the lower 100 and say 10, 111 kind of range. I do expect it'll get there. JP Morgan had a good day yesterday. It's climbed up to 215. I think this is kind of near its peak, but we're getting a lot of interest in financials and a lot of increases in financial stocks as we get closer to Friday, when Federal Chairman Jerome Powell speaks at the Wyoming Jackson Hole Symposium. And we'll have to wait to look at the words and what's said by Chairman Powell in terms of what we can anticipate in rate cuts. That's what everybody is waiting for on Friday. Morgan Stanley had an okay day yesterday. It's off slightly pre-market. Goldman, again, a mediocre day with upticks at the end like the tech stocks, but down slightly going into the open today. I do think Goldman is a $520, $530 stock within the next couple of weeks, but we'll have to wait and see. It's all kind of hinging on what Federal Chairman Jerome Powell comes out and says on Friday. And even TD slowly making its way back into the 80s, so it hit 81 yesterday. I expect a further climb in these today, but it could be individually based. So keep an eye out for little pullbacks in individual stocks. Those can provide buy-in opportunities, ride them up to your percentage gain that you're looking for, and then get out and take your profits. Have a great day in the markets. Good luck with